Congressman, as usual, Marcoleta.
Salamat po, the better one.
Buti lang na-realize mo
Attorney Mauricio, according to this profile and investigation report which this body furnishes us every time, you were previously married with the sister of our colleague here, Senator Hontiveros. We're surprised why this marriage was declared null and void ab initio by an RTC court in Pasay City. Can you care to explain why it happened that way?
Your Honor, I have full respect to my former wife, and I guess we've grown apart, but she's been very supportive of the family, including my two daughters with her, and
Are you saying that because Senator Risa is here?
no, it's the truth, Your Honor. My sister knows about it. Yeah.
So she is your former sister-in-law?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Yes, Senator Risa. Excuse me, are you done, Congressman Marcoleta?
Mr. Chair, the question was not answered because we're very curious. You know, attorney, you were a lawyer. When a marriage was declared null and void ab initio, it is as if that it did not exist at all. Look, it is as if that it did not happen at all. Yun ang gusto naming malaman. Bakit nangyari yun? You were you were supposed to be conscious at the time you were hurting your previous wife. And you were, as a lawyer, you were conscious of your legal accountabilities, the legal requirements of a marriage. Paano nangyari yun?
Your Honor, what I can say is I cannot say anything. It's a tough question, Your Honor. But she's been very supportive, and the relationship with the families has been there.
Mr. Chair, you know, we're not about to open up wounds or whatever, but this proceeding happens to be one of that would go into the fitness and merit of an occupant of a public office. We are, as an appointee of an important office, you are chief of mission 2 of the Department of Foreign Affairs. And as a lawyer yourself, we cannot imagine how a marriage can be declared null and void ab initio without any explanation.
Mr. Chair.
Maybe you want to disabuse our minds, sir.
Mr. Chair. Before that, Majority Floor Leader.
Yeah, ano lang, we're not prying into the private life of the nominee, Mr. Chair. I think the CA's mandate is integrity, fitness. We just want an honest answer, and just answer it directly, Mr. Chair. What is being asked by Congressman Marcoleta.
Please proceed, Attorney Mauricio.
Your Honor, there are two types of resolution by the court with respect to declaration of nullity, void, ab initio, under Article 36 of the Family Code. the legal effects of the marriage that has been voided ab initio by the courts recognizes the legal effects or rights of the children during the subsistence of the marriage before it was voided. That was the status of the the declaration of nullity on my case, Your Honor. So my the legitimacy of my two daughters with my former wife, it's still there, it's still intact. All I can say is it's probably the disappearance or the deterioration of love on one or both of the parties, and it's something that's difficult to quantify. If it's not there because two parties have grown apart, then uh, it's beyond it's beyond my power.
Mr. Chair,
Majority Floor Leader.
for the record, to enlighten the body, siguro just cite na the basis of the decision. What is the basis of the decision of the court?
As far as to summarize it, Your Honor, I admitted psychological incapacity
Yeah,
on my
that's what we were
part.
trying to, because most of the declaration of ab initio or separation is basically either of the party declares mental or emotional or psychological defects. Isn't that true? As a lawyer, di ba?
That's
I
true.
think 99.9% of annulment cases is either of the parties declare psychological, mental, emotional defects on either one. Di ba po?
Correct, Your Honor.
So that is the basis.
Yes.
And when you said psychological, who declared a psychological incapacity? You or your wife or your former wife?
The court declared it was both of us, but I admitted in the petition that I was psychologically incapacitated.
I think that's the point of Congressman Marcoleta, no? Would there be an issue? Was your psychological incapacity or problem before still existent now?
No, Your Honor. Doesn't exist anymore. The resolution was issued in 2006, and I've been promoted several times in the Department of Foreign Affairs without any issue on my competence or psychological state of mind. In fact, one of the required things for me to be invited here is my psychological fitness as attested by a licensed psychologist, Your Honor.
Yung psychological incapacity or defect at pointed at that time, was it emotional in terms of you controlling your temper or handling stress? Because your job will require a lot of stress, Mr. Chair.
Because of the work, Your Honor, that I had, I was absent in that relationship for quite some time to earn and take care of my family. I think that was one of the bigger reasons.
Anyway, pasensya na po for asking, but that is our duty. But we do not want to delve or pry into your private life, Your Honor, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Majority Floor Leader. Congressman Marcoleta, are you satisfied with the answers given to you?
I'm more confused, Mr. Chair, because why would the appointee say that it is his work that caused the psychological incapacity as a ground for the nullification of his marriage? It does not compute, Mr. Chair. I hope you can explain it better. Ang ini-expect ko ngang sabihin mo, baka yung nagkasal sa inyo ay hindi naman walang lisensya. That's easily talagang null and void yung ano mo. O kaya 14 years old ka pa lang noon, wala kang parental consent.
How old?
Kaya naman wala
First
kang
got married.
contract of marriage. Pero kung sasabihin mo psychological incapacity, we'll be more confused with that answer, Mr. Chair.
How old were you when you first got married?
Turning 20, Your Honor.
And how would you prove to us that psychological incapacity was already overcome by you? Is there any certification coming from a competent psychologist that finally that psychological incapacity, which was the ground for nullification of your marriage, no longer exists today.
Yes, Your Honor. It's been submitted. The psychological test was submitted by a licensed psychologist who's also accredited as a psychologist by the Supreme Court.
It is not in our record, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, we need to know when what was that issued and if it's updated.
Yes, Your Honor. I will resubmit another copy of that report, Your Honor.
Can I just interject, Congressman Marcoleta? You mentioned to me earlier that you first got married at the age of 20. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor, based on
And
how I
the
recall.
court
19.
declared your marriage null and void ab initio because you were psychologically incapacitated. Am I correct? Because of work.
With respect to that marriage, yes,
All
Your
right.
Honor.
What was your work when you were? What was your job when you were 20 years old that caused you so much stress?
I was a working student, Your Honor. My first job was here in the Senate.
At the age of 20,
21, Your Honor.
you're under.
First, I was under Senator Wigberto Tañada, Bobby Tañada. And then, after being a staff, technical assistant for Senator Tañada, I was eventually taken in by the Senate Secretariat where I handled some committees, Your Honor. I was also assigned with the former Senate President Tobito Salonga, and after him, former Senate President Edgardo Angara.
Does that mean to say that you were stressed working under Senator Tañada?
No, Your Honor, not at all.
Okay. Congressman Marcoleta, any questions? Any further questions?
Mr. Chair, I just noted that this work experience of the nominee is not indicated in the profile report. It's not here, Mr. Chair. So this report and submission should be, there should be honest submissions of previous work experiences. Wala. Ito. Nandito pala, under number 3, career highlights. Apologize, on page 5.
Okay, Congressman Marcoleta, any further questions?
Mr. Chair, I maintain my previous view that when a marriage is nullified, void, ab initio, under Article 4 of Family Code, it should, the ground must be any of the following. When there is absence of any of the formal or essential requisites of a valid marriage, one, legal capacity of of the contracting parties, whether consent is freely given, or the authority of the solemnizing officer, the validity of marriage license, or maybe the marriage ceremony. This is one of those. This is not one of those he's mentioning, and he was unable to tell us that the psychological incapacity was proved to be existing prior to the marriage, or even at the existence of the marriage. So parang merong konting problema that should be looked into, Mr. Chair, considering that we are passing upon the fitness and the merit of an appointee of the executive.
Attorney Mauricio may now respond.
Uh, Your Honor, I can only inform the body, Mr. Chair and Your Honor, about what I know as a lawyer about jurisprudence with respect to a specific provision in the Family Code, particularly Article 36. And the Supreme Court has stated that that with respect to the psychological incapacity, it can be a condition that can exist peculiar to that particular marriage because of the circumstances of both parties, and it may not exist previous to that, or it may not exist after that. It does not an indication of as incapacity or psychological neurological disorder with respect to the profession, but only with respect to the relationship. We have a lot of professionals, Your Honor, who may have some incapacity to love with a particular relationship, and some who have capacity to love with other relationship. That's all that I can mention, and I know it's jurisprudential, Your Honor, and that's what I know. This is not the same as the declaration of nullity void ab initio, like in cases of bigamy, when the Supreme Court, by jurisprudence, applying the provision of the Family Code, states or has stated that the marriage is deemed not to have happened and no legal recognition of the effect of such marriage have been granted by the law or the court, even during the time that it was not yet declared void ab initio. That's all, Your Honor, that I can say, based on my legal.
Mr. Chair, that argument does not place you in a better position. You know, even on the argument that we can accept that your marriage was nullified based on existing prior to your marriage was established by the court. It's only, this is personal to you and your wife, your previous wife. But in this case, you're representing the country. And it's no longer personal. This is something that is connected with your duty as a public officer. So we would like to know whether that psychological incapacity still persists in relation to your capacity to represent this country. This is very important, Mr. Chair, until and unless you prove to us that that ground in your previous marriage was already fully overcome. We still have the doubts, Mr. Speaker.
With all due respect, Congressman Marcoleta, I think the nominee has already submitted a certification coming from a psychologist. If I may, it is also part of the requirement given to the CA. Do you have any copy? I can furnish you a copy. Maybe while browsing on the document, can I recognize Senator Risa? You want to propound some questions?